what's up, everybody? True Boxing here. Thank you for coming back to Get Hit with the Truth. So today we're doing the What's Next on Tszyu, the undefeated WBO junior middleweight or super welterweight champion of the world at 154 pounds, as he solidified his championship with his first successful defense over WBC interim super welterweight champ Brian Mendoza, as they fought on October 14th in the main event of a Showtime card, and Tszyu got a unanimous decision victory. Now, before we get into that, if you could smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I really do appreciate any and all support that I get as I continue to build my channel. Again, I'm at 580 subscribers. I'd like to get to 600 by the end of the year at least. Help me out if you can. I really appreciate all the support. Anyways, back to Tszyu and Mendoza. You know, I said in my recap, I know some Australian fans weren't too happy about it, but I wasn't overly impressed with Tszyu's performance. I mean, he got the victory. He was deserving of the victory. It definitely wasn't a blowout, but he was the deserving winner. Brian Mendoza, I mean, you got to give him props. He's tough as nails. And I think that was partly why, you know, it wasn't an easy show for Tszyu. I just didn't think he did anything special or spectacular that has me convinced that he's going to beat some of the other top dogs. But that's not to say that he can't. And now the big question is, what's next for Tszyu following this win? Well, I'm going to mention the out-of-division fight that is possible, but not for Tszyu, and that's Terrence Bud Crawford. The WBO has paved the way for Crawford to move to 154 and challenge Tszyu for the title there. Now, it's not a guarantee it's going to happen, but they have opened the door for that fight to happen between Crawford and Tszyu. Crawford had already been asking for super champion status, and now he has it, which means he can move up to 154 and challenge Tszyu before any mandatory or anybody else. So that's granted the rematch with Errol Spence falls through. And right now, I got reason to believe that, it's about 50-50 in the air that fight is not going to happen now. So we'll see what happens, but Terrence Crawford, definitely a possibility. Now running through the rest of the top 10, we start with Jermell Charlo, the unified champ. I think this is the more likely option if for two reasons. One would have to be that the fight happens within the next 5-6 months. I think that's the only way Tszyu is going to wait around for Charlo. And we know Charlo likes to take long sabbaticals off in between fights. We know injuries, different things like that, but he has not been the most active fighter, and he's coming off of a loss now. I don't know if he's going to want to jump right back in or if he's going to take 9-10 months off. If that's the case, Tszyu's not going to fight him. Tszyu's going to move on. He does have other options. But Charlo would be the biggest one outside of a showdown with Crawford. But it would be a huge one because it would reunify all 4 belts for an undisputed crown. And it's a fight that Tszyu wanted anyways, that he called out after the fight, after his fight with Mendoza. So I definitely think this fight is a possibility and has a strong case, but Charlo is going to have to make the fight. He's going to have to want to be back in the ring within 5-6 months in order for Tszyu to wait for him. And also, the Crawford-Spence rematch does have a lot to do with this fight happening as well, because Crawford is a big name and he's the undisputed champ at 147. Tszyu might prefer, let's fight the smaller guy than fight the bigger guy. The smaller guy who's coming off his career best win, as opposed to the bigger guy that's coming off of a loss. So that's where it becomes difficult right there. Brian Castaño, would love to see the fight, but I don't think Castaño wants to come back and go after what would be, by the time they fought, it'd be well over a year and a half, floating between a year and a half, 2 years since he last fought. Because I think the earliest they could fight for Tszyu would probably be January, February area. And you're looking at 21 months off in between fights for Castaño, and he's going to go straight after Tim Tszyu. I'm not ruling it completely out because they both have ties with the PBC, but I don't see it. Then there's Sebastian Fundora, the former interim champion. Tim Tszyu has nothing to prove by fighting Fundora, who's a horrible matchup for anybody, even if you can hit him. But he's also coming off the knockout loss to Mendoza. So Tszyu beat the guy that beat the guy kind of situation. So Tszyu doesn't have to take that bad matchup against Fundora. So no, I don't see that one. Then there's Erickson Lubin. An enticing fight, but I don't think Tim Tszyu wants to fight a guy with Lubin's style. And now he can use the argument that, hey, he lost to Fundora, and I beat the guy that beat Fundora. And then he could also make the argument that Lubin didn't even look good or was deserving of his last victory against Jesus Ramos. So I don't think Tim Tszyu is going to consider Erickson Lubin next. Then there's Magomed Kurbanov. He's highly rated in the WBA, and I'm sure is waiting around for a WBA title shot. And I don't think he's a big enough name, even though he's undefeated. I don't know if he's a big enough name for Tim Tszyu right now. I think Tim Tszyu's got a good name rolling. He wants to come to the States and fight, and I don't think he's going to settle for a guy like Kurbanov next. Then there's Michel Soro, the French contender, former world title challenger. Another guy that I don't think Tszyu is going to consider. You know, he might be a last resort type option. I don't think he's going to consider him just because he hasn't really done anything, you know, outside of close fights with Kurbanov and come up short. He is a veteran. He's been around a while, but I don't think Tim Tszyu would fight him. Tony Harrison, a rematch. No need for that. He dominated Harrison earlier this year, so no need. And then Danny Garcia rounds out my top 10 from the mid-year. Danny's moving up to 160 to challenge Erislandy Lara. They're going to fight at a catchweight for the middleweight title. So, and I don't think Danny's going to beat Erislandy Lara, so I don't think Danny is an option for Tim Tszyu. But at the end of the day, the two, in my opinion, I think Tim Tszyu's going to fight Jermell Charlo or Terrence Bud Crawford. I think he feels like he's at that point in his career where he's a star now, and he wants to leave no doubt, and he wants his opportunity. So, I think right now I would still favor the Charlo fight over the Bud Crawford fight, but if the reports about Spence and Crawford are true and that a rematch is you know, dissipating, is dissolving, I really believe that that him fighting Crawford is very, very possible. So I really think it's going to be Tszyu versus Crawford or Tszyu versus Charlo for Undisputed at 154. So we'll see what happens, but that's it. That's what I got. That's my what's next on Undefeated WBO Super Welterweight Champion of the World, Tim Tszyu, following his 12-round unanimous decision over Brian Mendoza as they collided on October 14th on Showtime for the WBO Super Welterweight title. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, smash the like button, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. I appreciate any and all support. This is True Boxing. You've been hit with the truth.